What would you do if you knew a financial crisis was coming? Not a rumor, not a possibility, a certainty. 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. Would you prepare? Or would you keep living the way you're living right now? Spending freely, saving nothing, planning for today but ignoring tomorrow? That's exactly the situation Joseph faced. And his response didn't just save a nation, it reveals a blueprint for financial survival that is just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Maybe more. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A financial crisis is always closer than you think. Job loss, medical emergency, economic collapse, market crash. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the question God is asking you right now is the same one he asked Joseph thousands of years ago. Will you be ready? Stay with me, because what Joseph did in Genesis 41 contains principles that can protect your family, secure your future, and position you not just to survive the next crisis, but to become a blessing to others while they struggle. Joseph listened before he acted. The first thing that stands out about Joseph's preparation is where it started. Not in a boardroom, not in a financial seminar. It started with divine revelation. Genesis 41:25 records Joseph telling Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do." Joseph didn't prepare based on his own instincts or market analysis. He prepared because God spoke, and he was humble enough to listen. That's the foundation of every sound financial decision. Not human wisdom alone, but divine direction first. Proverbs 3:5-6 commands, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Most people make financial decisions based on feelings, trends, or peer pressure. Joseph made decisions based on what God revealed. That's the difference between reactive living and prophetic preparation. Before you make your next major financial move, stop, pray, ask God for clarity. The same Spirit that gave Joseph the interpretation of Pharaoh's dream can give you wisdom for your specific situation. Joseph established a concrete system. Genesis 41:34 says, "Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take a fifth of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance." 20% set aside before anything else was distributed, before celebrations, before expenses, before consumption. The first portion was reserved for the future. That's not a modern budgeting trick. That's a biblical principle embedded in Joseph's emergency strategy. Notice what Joseph didn't do. He didn't wait until famine arrived to start preparing. He didn't say, "Let's save when things slow down." He acted during abundance, when saving felt unnecessary, when everyone else was feasting, when the temptation to consume was at its peak. That's exactly when discipline is hardest, and exactly when it matters most. Proverbs 6:6-8 points to the ant as a model of wisdom. It stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. The ant prepares during plenty for seasons of scarcity. That's Joseph's strategy. That's God's strategy, and it needs to be yours. Joseph diversified his storage. Genesis 41:48 reveals something often overlooked. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. Not in one location, in the cities, plural. He distributed, he diversified, he didn't put everything in one place. Ecclesiastes 11:2-2 echoes this principle. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come to the land. Diversification is God's financial strategy for uncertain times. One income stream is fragile, one investment is risky, one plan is dangerous. What does this mean practically? Don't depend on a single job as your only source of income. Don't keep all your savings in one place. Don't build your entire financial future on one skill, one business, or one opportunity. Spread your resources, create multiple streams, because when crisis hits one area, the others sustain you. Joseph remained faithful under pressure. Here's what makes Joseph's story even more remarkable. Before he ever managed Egypt's resources, he managed smaller things with the same integrity. In Potiphar's house, in prison, he was faithful when no one was watching. He was excellent when there was no reward in sight. Genesis 39 verse 3 says, "When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did." Faithfulness in little positioned Joseph for responsibility over much. God didn't promote him because he was talented, he promoted him because he was trustworthy. Luke 16:10 confirms this principle. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Your financial breakthrough is tied to how you manage what you already have. Before God expands your income, He examines your stewardship. Before He gives you more, He watches what you do with less. Joseph's preparation became other people's salvation. Here's the part of the story that changes everything. Genesis 41:57 says, "And all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe everywhere." Joseph's obedience didn't just protect himself, it positioned him to save others. That's the kingdom perspective on financial preparation. You don't prepare only for yourself, you prepare so you can be a resource when others are desperate, so you can give when others are begging, so you can fund the gospel when economic storms silence others. Your financial security is not selfish, it's strategic for the kingdom. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." Generational impact, legacy thinking, preparation that outlasts your own lifetime. That's what Joseph built, and that's what God is calling you to build. Why it matters now. We live in uncertain times. Economies shift without warning. Jobs disappear overnight. Prices rise faster than salaries. And most believers are one crisis away from financial collapse, not because God hasn't provided, but because they haven't stewarded what He's given. Joseph's story isn't ancient history, it's a prophetic blueprint for right now. God is saying to you what He revealed to Joseph. Abundance doesn't last forever. Prepare while you can. Save with purpose. Diversify with wisdom. Remain faithful in the small things, and position yourself to be a blessing when crisis comes. The question isn't whether crisis is coming, the question is whether you'll be Joseph, prepared, positioned, and purposeful, or whether you'll be the people who had nothing stored and came desperate looking for someone else's preparation to save them. Start today, not when things get worse, not when you earn more, today. Set aside a percentage before you spend anything else. Create a plan, eliminate debt, build reserves, diversify your income. Be faithful with what you already have. Because the same God who gave Joseph wisdom to prepare is ready to give you wisdom right now. You just have to ask and then obey. If this message stirred something in you, write in the comments, "I will prepare like Joseph." Declare it. Subscribe to Biblical Finances and activate the bell, because we're teaching you how to build financial security rooted in Scripture, not just in good times, but for everything that's coming. Your preparation starts now. Don't wait for the famine to wish you had stored during the harvest.